Hello and welcome back. So this video is for class 9 and we will continue with the chapter of gravitation. So in the previous video we spoke about the concept of mass and weight. So I hope now you understand that mass is the total matter contained in an object, right? So whatever is the total matter, that is the atoms, the protons, electrons, neutrons, all that constitute the matter, right? And that is called as the mass of the object. And next concept was weight. What is weight? Weight is the force of gravitation. So how will we find weight of an object? We have to multiply mass into acceleration due to gravity, right? So make sure that these two concepts and their differentiation you are always understanding. Today let us see the next topic, and that is the concept of pressure. So to understand pressure first, we understand a concept that is called as the thrust. Okay, now what we mean by thrust? Consider this is a surface, right? On this surface we can apply pressure in many ways, right? We can apply a pressure from this side or from this side. But if we apply the pressure in, if we apply the force in such a manner that force is perpendicular to the surface, that is normal to the surface, right? If a force is applied perpendicular to the surface, that force is known as a thrust. Okay, very simple to understand. A perpendicular force is known as a thrust, right? So that is the concept of thrust. So thrust is nothing but force, but it is a special kind of force where you are applying it perpendicular to whatever surface we are putting it on, right? That is one thing. Next, let us see what we mean by pressure. And we define pressure as the thrust per unit area. That is called as pressure. So we are applying some perpendicular force, that is nothing but the thrust, on this area, right? So we will divide the force by the area. Which area we will take? We are not concerned with this total area of the surface, only the area which is in contact with that body, right? That is called as pressure. So pressure is defined as thrust per unit area, right? So what will be SI unit of pressure then? SI unit of pressure will be, for thrust it is Newton, per area it is meter square. So SI unit of pressure is Newton per meter square. Okay, so that is the concept of pressure. The formula you can write like this: P is equal to F by A. Now what you see over here, that if you increase the force, the pressure will increase, right? If you are applying more force, then the pressure would be more. But you can see area is coming in the denominator. So if the area is larger, then pressure will be smaller. What it means is, consider a nail like this. Okay, the nail that we are putting in our walls, right? So whenever we want to fix a nail in the wall, we have a pointed end that we put to the wall, and then on the top head, which is having a larger area, there we apply with a hammer. Correct? So whatever force you are applying here, that force gets transported to a very small area. Now here what happens? The area is very small, and we know if area is small, pressure will be larger. That is why the nail is able to penetrate the wall very easily, as a smaller area gives more pressure. That is the reason that if you take a pen, correct, and you put it on your hand, it will prick, correct. But if you turn the pen around, the other end, that will not prick because it is having a larger area. So once again, larger area, less pressure, smaller area, more pressure, correct. That is why we use knives for cutting. Okay, if you see the edge of the knife is very, very sharp, with the area is very small. And since the area is small, the knife can apply larger pressure and it is able to cut through the objects very easily. So that is the general concept of pressure. Now what we spoke about, that was solid pressure, that solids are applying. But even liquids and gases, they can also apply a pressure, and that is termed as the fluid pressure. Okay, now fluid, of course, fluid means fluid can be liquid or a gas. So the pressure that is applied by fluids, by gases and liquids, that is called as fluid pressure. So we are having air around us, right? So this air is also putting a pressure on us, and that we call as the air pressure. Similarly, if you go under water, the water also applies a pressure on you, and that is the water pressure, correct? And of course, the effects of air pressure we have seen many times. Okay. Now what happens with pressure is, if this is our surface of the earth, right? So as we move up, what happens is the air pressure will go on decreasing. So if you are on a very high height, correct, then air pressure will actually be very less. This is something you notice when you are flying in an airplane, correct? In the airplane is very high above the ground, so there the air pressure is less. So that is why in the flights they have to put extra air so that your body, you can breathe very normally. If you have seen fighter pilots, correct? Fighter pilots, they will always put a mask on their noses. They have to put a mask so that they can breathe, because on a very high altitude they are not able to breathe normally because air pressure on top is very less, correct? Basically this is what happens when you are climbing a mountain also, right? So whenever if you want to go for trekking, if the mountain is very high, it is always advised that the people who are old or people who are having blood pressure problems, they should not climb very high, because as you climb above the mountain, on the top the air pressure is going to be very less. That can actually affect us, correct? So that is one thing you'll remember, that as you move above the earth's surface, the air pressure goes on decreasing, correct? On the earth's surface it is going to be maximum. Then what happens if you go below the earth? That is, if this is water, correct? If you go below the earth, what happens to the water pressure? The water pressure will go on increasing as you move downwards, correct? So the farther down that we go, the water pressure is going to be higher, correct? So that is why again, whenever we want to go for deep sea diving, there also people who are having blood pressure problems, they are advised that they should not go underwater, because that can actually affect their blood pressure, correct? So that is the concept of fluid pressure. All the fluids that you have, they exert a pressure on the object. So when we are here, air is around us, air is putting a pressure on us. If we go underwater, the water will put a pressure on us, and that is the concept of fluid pressure. Now, it is because of this fluid pressure that one new effect arises, and that effect is known as the buoyancy. B-U-O-Y-A-N-C-Y. So what is buoyancy? Now of course we have seen that a ship is very large, correct? But when the ship goes in the water, it is able to float very easily. Even though it is having a huge mass and there are many people on it, the ship actually floats on the water, and that is actually due to this phenomena of buoyancy. So what is buoyancy basically? Buoyancy is the upward force. Okay, so consider this is a liquid, correct? In that liquid, if any solid goes inside that liquid, there will be an upward force that will be exerted by the liquid. This upward force by the liquid is termed as buoyancy. Okay, and it is because of this buoyancy or buoyant force that objects are either floating in water or they sink in water. Now consider this object. You put it in water. Now which is the force that will act on it? First you will have the force of gravitation. Okay, that is the weight of the object, that will be equal to mg. So gravitational force will actually act in the downward direction. Because of gravitational force, if you take a stone and you throw it in water, the stone starts to move downwards. At the same time, the water is putting an upward force, that is called as the buoyant force, correct? So there is an upward force on that same object that is put by water. Now what happens? If the gravitational force is more than the buoyant force, the object will go down, that is it will sink. But if the buoyant force is larger than the gravitational force, the object will actually float. For example, if you consider a ship, correct? A ship is actually much larger than a small stone, but the buoyant force that the water is putting is much more higher than the weight of that ship, that is the gravitational force on the ship. So because of that buoyant force, the ship actually floats, correct? So this concept is also very important, that is buoyancy. Whether you will float in water or you will sink in water will completely depend upon the buoyancy, correct? Now let us see how we can change the buoyancy. Okay, so buoyancy is affected by something called as the Archimedes principle. Okay, Archimedes. He was a great scientist in Greece. Okay, he has given us this principle. Now there is a long story about Archimedes. I will not go that over here. So what is the Archimedes principle? It is very easy to understand. Archimedes says that if you have a beaker that is completely filled with water. Okay, so we have a beaker and that we have filled with water to the brim. Okay, it is filled such that even if a small drop goes, now that will come out. Okay, it is filled completely to the top, right? Then we will take one object that is having mass m. This object of mass m will be immersed inside the liquid. When this object goes inside the liquid, what will happen? Obviously, because this object is going to occupy some space, some of the water will come out, right? So imagine this stone, let us say, okay, a stone of mass m is put in water. When the stone goes inside the water, some amount of liquid will be coming out. This liquid we call as the displaced liquid, correct? And this displaced liquid will also have some mass, correct? And because it is having some mass, it will have some weight that will be equal to, let us say, m1g, the displaced one. Okay, that it will have some weight will be there for this liquid. So Archimedes principle says that when object is immersed in water, the buoyant force on that object, okay, I will write it as BF, that is buoyant force. So when object is immersed in water or in any liquid, the buoyant force on that object is equal to the weight of displaced liquid. Okay, making sense? So whenever any object goes inside water, it will displace, that is some of the liquid it will push out, right? And that buoyant force on the object will be exactly equal to the weight of how much liquid has been displaced. And then whether object will float or sink will depend upon that. For example, a ship is very large. Because ship is very large, the amount of liquid it will displace will also be very large. And because more liquid is displaced, so the weight of that liquid will also be large. So ship will face more buoyant force. But a small stone, right? Because stone is very small, so the liquid displaced will also be very small. So buoyant force is very small, and therefore the stone will sink inside the water. Correct? So you can actually make an object float or sink by changing its buoyant force. So if you are having a larger area, for example, right, so more area is there for an object, the buoyant force will be much larger, the object will actually float in that case, correct? Or otherwise, if it is a very small object, correct, it will tend to sink. But also it will depend on something called as the density. Now I hope you know this concept of density. Density is defined as mass per unit volume, correct? Mass of an object divided by its volume is called as density. So another way to see whether object will float or sink is by talking about its density. So water has got some density, and let us say a stone that is going inside the water, that will have some density. If density of object is larger than liquid, then object will sink. If density of object is smaller than the density of liquid, it will float. So for example, if you take a wooden log, okay, a wooden log, if you throw it in water, the wood will float on water. Why? The density of wood is smaller than the density of water. Correct? So whether an object will float or sink will depend on its density. So more or less they are the same concept, correct? Buoyant force will arise because of the density of the material, but this is much easier to understand. Okay, so once again, density is mass per unit volume, and what will be SI unit of density? SI unit of density will be kg per meter cube. Next, we will talk about a concept that is called as the relative density. Again, relative density is very easy to understand. Relative density of a material is defined as the density of that material divided by the density of water. Okay, so once again, what is relative density? Relative density is defined as density of material, correct, divided by density of water. So let us say we want to talk about iron, correct? We want to find out density of iron. So how will you find density of iron? Mass of that iron piece divided by its volume. You will get a value. But how much will be relative density? That will be density, the actual density, divided by density of water. That will give us the concept of relative density. Now, why we find relative density? So that we can compare between two objects, correct? So based on relative density, we can say whether one object is having high density or low density, because we are comparing them with the same value, and that is the density of water. And another thing, remember, the density of water is 1000 kg per meter cube. Okay, that is density of water. It is a fixed value. So you can find out relative density of any material by using this particular formula.